During the last video, you all have seen how to spin an Azure AI landing zone. If you are just logging into this video, I'll provide you the link to go back and see how to spin an Azure landing zone. So Azure Landing Zone comprises of several components, which you have seen in the past video. Just a quick recap. You will be equipped with all the tools and the related services corresponding to a landing zone, such as key vaults, virtual networks, and most importantly, AI Studio and AI Project. With that said, today let's work at a greater detail of how to actually make use of AI Studio and AI Project, and last but not least, um, how to create a generative AI application using something called uh, Prompty. So within the AI Studio, I think the best way to start the development is to create your own project and go into the project. As I am showing here, project comprises of various things, but one of the key things of the project is you can actually launch a Visual Studio Code wherein for the compute that you select, uh, we will spin a VS Code container on that compute. Um, and once all the setup is done, you can actually see the Visual Studio opened on your desktop like this. So this is actually the Visual Studio running on the desktop, but it is pointed to the remote compute. As you can see here, my remote compute is using the my remote compute is running on a VS Code container, as I am showing here. Um, and today I will be demoing you about something called a Prompty. Prompty is the Microsoft way of homogenizing prompts and all the required LLM connections to a prompt and maintaining the multiple versions of those LLMs all through a single configuration. And that configuration is called Prompty. Prompty itself could be installed as a Microsoft extension, as you can see here. So, as part of the Microsoft extension, you can actually install something called Prompty. So, let me search for Prompty. So Prompty, this is the Prompty extension. So is Prompty is an asset um, class and format for LLM prompts designed to enhance observability, understandability, and portability for the developers. So how do we achieve all the said components called observability, understandability, and portability through standardizing the prompts and the execution of prompts themselves into Prompty templates. So Prompty templates are of the extension Prompty, and you can actually render a facade, which is a YAML facade to the backend prompt plus LLM that you were familiar with. All these you could use with various tools such as prompt flows, LangChain, semantic kernel, etc. Doesn't really matter. One of the beauties of Prompty is the Prompty uh, extension itself. So if we actually, let's say, go to a portion of code, for example, let's open a sample Prompty. This is a Prompty, right, which is nothing but YAML looking template, and it is very easy for you to test with various configurations, and you can maintain Visual Studio Code configurations, or you can make a local code configuration like what I am showing you here. So what we can do is with Prompty, you don't actually need the extensive setup to develop and test, right? So For example, if you want to test a basic thing like this, all you need to do is you need to define a connection, and when you run the prompty, you can quickly see for your prompt um, a very summarized output, which is this, right? So, for example, like in my simplistic case, I have provided some chat history, and for a given question that I am sending in, I'm just asking Prompty to give me a response to my test execution. And also, you can quickly see the trace associated with that execution. For example, if I go to this trace and open that trace, it'll look like this, right? So you can trace out what is the LLM call that has been made, what did you pass to the LLM, and what was your prompt template. For example, in my prompt template, I included some of the safety components associated, and some of, like customer components. For example, you are helping Sriram to find answers to their questions, use their name and address. So how did it know that? It knew that because within my prompty template, let's actually go back to the prompty template. So within the prompty template, I told that, I need to be passing to my prompty a first name, last name. So in my case, first name, last name is Sriram. So and a question and a sample chat history that would be associated, and a OpenAI connection and the deployment name. So here, as you can see, with a basic, you know, front-end YAML like this, it can not only test, but also um, it can render everything as a markdown, right? So this is what we will be sending out of this template, so that a tester or a developer will be very productive. So what is the alternative for Prompty? So you, let's say we are using Prompty with prompt flows. So as part of a prompt flow, you have a flow DAG, and I'll point you to a link to the prompt flows. There is a separate videos I have made on prompt flows. So for example, if you are familiar with LangChain or something, I will show in a second. But in the prompt flow, it takes an input, and I am making use of Prompty um, as a Python node. And before Prompty, I used to make an LLM call such as this. And as part of the LLM call, I used to provide a Jinja template and a connection string. But with Prompty, I don't need to do that. So within the Python tool, all I do is use add tool and simply say load Prompty, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So this is automating. Let's say you're not familiar with prompt flows, still you can use Prompty. All you need to do is right click that and say add LangChain code. So this is the LangChain code it generates. And this is the same LangChain code, and it will ask you to install this library. All you need to do is pip install LangChain dash Prompty, and that's it. Remaining everything is same, and you can say chain dot invoke, and everything is what you are familiar with, except as you can see, um, you know it just actually takes, instead of chart dot Prompty, in that case you need to do the exact same thing, but in a certain way. So if you're familiar with LangChain, you will understand this piece of code. You can try Prompty for yourself. Um, Again, to summarize, simply right click. You can say, for example, new Prompty, right? So when you say new prime Prompty, the template itself will load. If you are a user of prompt flows, and you can definitely, use a Prompty. If you don't want to use, either a LangChain or, uh, prompt flows or a semantic kernel. And if you want to be very productive testing this real fast, um, then you could directly use chat.prompty and say test, and it will test at the terminal and provide you a summarized and synthesized output. Learning prompting should be very simple, because as long as you know Jinja templates or a markdown language, it's of the same way. You can actually, quickly set up a connection. For example, in this case, I have quickly set up a connection called OpenAI connection. So please follow my prompt flow tutorial. If you are prompt flows, it's a separate thing. You can actually go to create a connection here such as this, and I clearly explain how to do that. So once you have a connection ready, the same connection you can refer here. This itself is a YAML file, the connection. I'm going to open the YAML file because it won't display any secrets or anything like that. Thank you very much. I hope you use Promptly. I hope you use AI Studio, and you become very productive on the landing zone we have created in the last video. Thank you.